The college football playoffs could be changing once again. The date for the changes to be made got extended out to January 23rd. And oh boy, they are very much so talking about it at this point. So, just a quick recap if you don't know what's going on here. Tony Petitti would like to expand the college football playoffs to 24 teams and have 3 or 4 automatic qualifier bids for all the Power 4 conferences. Greg Sankey, and as far as we know, the Big 12 and the ACC are wanting a 16 team college football playoff that has 5 conference champions and 11 auto bids. Those conference champions would include the group of 6, one group of 6 conference champion as well. And then Notre Dame, I believe they would have some kind of thing set up. I don't think it's official, but they would have some kind of thing set up that if they're in the top whatever, they did that with the 12 team. So I'm just assuming they would do something like that with the 16 team as well. But really feels like this has not been done yet because of the two guys who have the most power here. It's Tony Petitti of the Big Ten and Greg Sankey of the SEC. Now, it does sound like, according to Heather Dinich and her article that she wrote for ESPN about some college football playoff buzz, that there might be something that the two guys are coming to terms with. Tony Petitti might be more willing to go to the 16-team playoff if there is an agreement that within 2 or 3 years, they would eventually go to the 24-team playoff. But in order to make that more likely with Greg Sankey, he would say no conference championship auto bids, like none of them, no auto bids. It would all be at large. Zach, I hate that idea. I hate that with a burning passion. I hate a lot of these ideas. And, I don't think there's anything that people could do at this point, or that Tony Petitti or Greg Sankey could do at this point to make people happy. It's all pretty much up there. And we just need some stability, but they refuse to give it to us. Zach, what are your thoughts on this whole situation and what Heather Dinich wrote about?
Can we get some adults in the room? That's my comment.
Not the NCAA, Zach. We do not want those adults in the room.
Well, no. They should be fired. They should be fired into the sun. They're not adults. Oh gosh, don't get me started on the absurdities of the NCAA. Why do I not have my NCAA shirt on?
Okay, why? Move on. We can't talk for an hour on this. Move on.
Okay. Okay. Can I just say, can we go to 16 teams? So there's a couple thoughts here. One, the schedule is terrible. Can we just go to 16 and fix the schedule first? Because the schedule is stupid.
One thing with the 24 team, and I do think this would be a benefit, is that if you go to the 24 team, there would be an agreement in place that conferences would begin to get rid of their conference championship games, and then that would leave that weekend open to start playoff games sooner. Still doesn't fix everything, but that would be something that would help in terms, I guess.
Maybe this is just me. I like conference championship games. I know that some people don't. I'm very stuck on 16. I don't like the 20. I like 24 for the sole reason that I think the best thing for the sport is automatic qualifiers. Like, I think that to me is the best part about the 24. I think everything else about it is not helpful. Like, I don't think we need a 24 team playoff. I think it's too many teams. I mean, do we really want 6 or 7 Alabamas and Oklahomas in the playoffs every year? Like, my goodness.
Well, if you have auto bids, though, you wouldn't have that. That's the aspect of the 24 team that I like, is that you have all of these auto bids for the conferences, and instead of us having preconceived notions about conferences, we are actually telling teams, earn your spot by how you perform in your conference, and we are going to give you multiple spots, because it's true, like conference schedules are not created equal. So this is an aspect of it that would be needed, but overall, like to me all of this says is that they want to expand to 24 teams because in 2 or 3 years, the Big Ten wants to have more teams in their conference. I mean, you and I talked about it with Jim Smith from Maryland and his comments on it. He wants the Big Ten to have over 20 teams in the next few years. So conference expansion is coming, whether it's Miami, Florida State, North Carolina, whoever it might be coming into the Big Ten. Conference expansion is coming, and Tony Petitti is obviously trying to get out in front of it here and saying, hey, I'll give you what you want, Greg, and ESPN, if you give me what I want a few years from now. So that way my conference that has Miami, North Carolina, these aren't like reports or anything, I'm just listing off teams here, but these teams who make it into the conference later on would not be too afraid to go into the conference, because right now I don't think the Big Ten can lure away, or the SEC can lure away certain teams in the ACC and the Big 12 as easily with the way the conference or the way that the playoffs are currently constructed. The playoffs have to expand if the Big Ten and the SEC want to put more teams in their conference.
Yeah, I guess part of me is wondering why we can't do that with 16. Because
why we can't have auto. The only thing I would say about 16. That is that the conference scheduling would make it very difficult to give teams the incentive for that, right? Because we just saw Miami, who finished third in the ACC, make the national championship game. Last year, Ohio State, who finished third in the Big Ten, won the national championship. So there is data there to suggest that, hey, you don't just take the best team in, your conference. And I mean, if the ACC wasn't stupid, Miami would have always made it, but they had to have stupid tiebreaker stuff that ruined it.
Yeah. Well, and I guess, and this doesn't help Miami's case, but I feel like you could go 4-4-2-2 and 1 with the group of 6, and then have 5 at large with 16. Hey, here's my.
I would agree with that. I just don't think the ACC and the Big 12 would go for it. Sorry, go ahead.
And that's fair. That's fair. I just, for several reasons, I really hate 24. One of which is actually the first round buys. I think that the 12 has proven to us that the first round bye is not the benefit that everybody saw it would be. So the exception to that is if you fix the scheduling. Whereas, say you end the season the week before Thanksgiving, and then the weekend after Thanksgiving, which has tended to be rivalry week, is actually the first round of the playoffs because we've gotten rid of conference championship games. And then the first week of December is round 2, where you have your round of 16, your round of 16. And then boom, boom, boom. I'd be okay with that. And more home games, more games on campus. The first round, if at all, of the playoffs that should be in bowl games is the semifinals. That's it. And I'm not even sure I want that. And the Natty should be the Rose Bowl every year.
Well, these bowl games suffer because nobody remembers it as, the Rose Bowl. Nobody remembers it as the Cotton Bowl. They remember it as the College Football Playoff game. I said this from the very beginning.
I remember my trip to the Rose Bowl as a trip.
Well, okay, yes, if you went there, sure, right? I mean, but when I think of Ohio State and Oregon, if I watch the game, yes, I remember it's the Rose Bowl, but I don't remember that game as the Rose Bowl. I remember that as the second round of the College Football Playoffs because that's what it's about more than anything else, right? So. I mean, overall, the thing that needs to be fixed in college football more than anything else right now is everything that's going on with NIL and the transfer portal. There needs to be some guidelines for agents and stuff like that. I'm not saying we need a cap or anything because I do think that the SEC would go over that cap and have some issues there. But I do think there needs to be more regulations.
You think the SEC would cheat?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Very much so.
We're tracking.
Yes. I do think the schedule needs to be fixed. I would be fine with all of that being focused on rather than this 12 team playoff type of deal. But of course, that's not what makes money, and so that's not what's going to be focused on. I think eventually, I think they're probably going to go with 16 teams. There's probably going to be an agreement, and they're not going to have any conference championship auto bids or anything like that because I think Tony Petitti is banking on the fact that now the SEC is playing 9 conference games. Things are going to be more of an even playing field, and maybe with it being a 24 team where ESPN doesn't own the entire thing, maybe it will be more of an even playing field. We'll see. But I think that's probably the direction we're going here. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think 16 is probably where we go first. But I mean, I think you're right.
But I don't think they go to 16 without that agreement, right?
Yeah, no, I don't. Tony Petitti is he is very much like Jim Delaney in that everybody else is playing checkers while he's playing chess. The difference between him and Delaney is that Petitti has his background in sport in media. And so I think he's working that system, which it feels kind of grimy, if I'm being completely honest, because it's like, oh, he's kind of a snake oil salesman, but he's just a much better one than Sankey, who just kind of comes out here and whines and complains. Why can't we have 7 teams in the playoff? Which you did tell me afterwards. That's real. That's not AI.
Yeah, you were
that's
right.
Real.
That was real. You were right.
So I'm bringing it back because it was real, and Sankey is a punk. That's all I'm going to say about that. But I don't love these politics backstage, and I'd much rather it be cleaner. But I think for the benefit of the Big Ten, which is what we care about, Petitti is the right guy for the job.
Yeah, I mean, like it's so tough, right? Because as somebody who is a fan of a Big Ten team, you want the conference to succeed because it helps your team succeed. But at the same time, like this is the thing that I wrestle with all the time. Right now, what is best for the Big Ten is not what's best for college football. As a college football fan, I very much so dislike the Big Ten right now because it is trying to tear apart all of college football. Yep. But that's what they're supposed to do because Tony Petitti is supposed to be looking after the conference, not looking after all of college football. Greg Sankey does the same thing. They both get, railed for this kind of stuff because they're both looking out for the conference and not the sport overall. That's why there needs to be somebody that's in charge of the sport overall that is kind of, in charge of making these decisions and stuff. But, the NCAA apparently can't do that. So that's not going to happen anytime soon. So we'll see what happens. If you want a prediction for me, my official prediction would probably be that we're going to go to 16 teams. There's going to be 5 auto bids, 11 at-large bids in 2 or 3 years. I would say probably 2030, maybe 2029. We're going to see a 2014 playoff with absolutely no bids, and you'll probably see agreements by that time of North Carolina going to the Big Ten or the SEC, Miami probably going to the Big Ten, Georgia Tech maybe going to the Big Ten, Virginia going to the SEC, stuff like that. And I think the ACC will become a group of 7 school or a group of 7 conference.
Yeah. Yeah, so. I think within the next 5 years we will see both the ACC and the Big 12 start to have their last hurrahs as power conferences.
I think the Big 12 might stick together.
They might stick together, but I just don't know the staying power. Like it's going to be hard without an anchor program.
Go ahead, sorry.
I was just saying I get that Texas Tech is trying to fill that void, but I think we saw part of the problem with it in the second round of the playoffs this year.
Well, and I think BYU could help with that too, with the influx of cash that they're putting into that program to get more players and having older players because of the Mormon missions and stuff like that as well. I think BYU could really help with that too. So, I don't think the Big 12 will quite be on the level of the Big 10 and the SEC. But I could definitely see them still being considered a power conference, especially if Texas Tech and BYU continue to elevate and, start winning some playoff games and show they're actual contenders and not just we can win our conference and make it into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's fair.
All right. People seem to be agreeing with us. Pitt Snipe Husker says the ACC dissolves. The Big 12 becomes the premium G6 conference. Would it be G8 by then?
Probably.
I guess if the ACC dissolves, it would be G7. Interesting stuff here. So Vince says just go 32, so no buys if you're going to do 24. I mean, Yeah.
Nobody would
I
be
mean, I don't
claiming.
want 32 teams, but I also don't want buys. So
Listen, no one would be complaining about JMU being in the playoffs anymore.
that's true. That's true.